Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Well, you guys must have heard if you talk to people, you're like, oh, so what is your favorite F1 circuit? Most people would actually say it's the Japanese Grand Prix circuit or Suzuka. And I always thought, okay, Suzuka is overrated. Everyone says that it's their favorite track and whatnot. But today I'm gonna tell you why it might even be the best. And from all the circuits I've driven so far, apart from Zandvoort is actually my favorite track because it's nice on a mechanical grip car, but I don't know how it is on an aerodynamic car because I haven't driven something like that on it. Okay, so disclaimer, I've only driven this on Assetto Corsa and other simulators, so it's only my sim experience. So yeah, without further ado, let me get on to the track walk where I can show you guys how and why Japan is the best circuit ever created. Hello everyone, welcome to the track walk. So this is the Suzuka Circuit, also known as the Japanese Grand Prix racetrack. This is one of the most challenging yet the most enjoyable tracks on the F1 calendar. And now we are approaching corner 1. I will give you further information later on. And this sector starts one of the coolest sectors in the track, which is the Senna's SS. And it challenges the car's aerodynamic grip, but on a car like this, obviously your challenge is to get the car rotated and pointing in the right direction to attack the next corner. So like on an F1 car, this sector feels very good if you have good mechanical grip. I drove this on F1 24, which is not 100% realistic as not as realistic as this, but yeah, on that you can feel a way larger difference driving on this sector. And now we enter this called the Degner Curve, and which leads us to the next sector, which is called Degner 1 and Degner 2. This is the first Degner, and this is quite a treat when you get it right. And then this is the second Degner. You're always tempted to, hang the back out in this car and have a bit of fun, but for this video I will do this. But driving appropriately on this track is having a right balance, and this is the hairpin. Here your car tends to oversteer quite drastically, and it's fun, it really wants to oversteer, but your challenge here is to keep it planted and attack the next straight properly. And this is called 200R. It heads to the next curve, which is called the spoon curve. So this track was also designed by a guy called John Hugenholtz, and it was a Honda test track before opening up to F1 and becoming a staple track in 1987. And this spoon curve is quite challenging to take. As you can see, I'm understeering right now as well. And now we get on to, I think, one of my most favorite parts of the track. It's called 300R, and as it is a very cool sounding corner, also it's pretty nice to take. No, 130R, my bad, not 300R, 130R. And on a car like this you have to brake, but on an F1 car I think it's taken flat out nowadays, but previously it was a test of how confident you are in the car. And now we get onto the Casio triangle. Even here it's a test of your rear of the car, so that's why this is considered a rear limited track, or it puts a lot of forces on the rear wheels of the car. And now we get onto the start finish straight, which is the only DRS straight on this track. And yeah, that ends our track walk. So before we get on further, I would also like to mention a few personal thoughts about this track or things I experienced. These JDM legends, these cars like the Mazda RX-7, the Nissan R34 GTR, R35. I drove all of these cars because I was like, okay, which car would be the coolest to take you guys on a track walk here? And let me tell you, these cars, I know this is not F1 related, but bear with me. If the simulator is anywhere as real as how the real cars feel, these cars were a treat to drive here. Like, oh my god, this Nissan R34 felt like you're driving it with telepathy. And I also drove the R35. That was quite a treat. You can easily slide the you can easily drive on the edge and get all four wheels sliding at the same time. And it's such a treat to drive this. And the Mazda RX-7, it's so light, and the steering is great on that. The Toyota Supra was amazing. I did not realize the Supra has active aero, and you could feel it on the simulator. If you guys have Assetto Corsa, you have a wheel, try it out. It's an experience worth having. So yeah, I mean, okay, enough of my rant on how great old Japanese cars were. But yeah, this track blew my mind. I drove on this track for a long time. I maybe spent like 5 hours on this track, because I spent like 1 hour. Like usually I spend like 10-15 minutes to 20 minutes learning a track to take you on a track walk if I do not know the track. This track, I have driven it previously for my video last year, and there I just did like 3-4 laps and went for a hot lap. But now I actually understood it, and when you drive and get everything right, this track rewards you so much. I know, I've been ranting on about how great this track is, so let's get on to the next segment, which is the news. I thought of doing something different here. I'm going to do something like react content, where I would bring up some news. So the first news I saw was Fernando Alonso's and Russell's incident last week. If you have seen it, I'm actually working on a little video, but I'm trying to learn how to animate myself. So I will release it later, where I explained from my perspective based on physics and how, when you combine that with mechanical grip and everything, how this could have been dangerous. So I mean, I see a point in what Russell says. I'm not by any means saying Russell was the better driver or the one who did the right thing. No, don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is, I think the penalty given was justified, that they gave a harsh penalty for this, because this would prevent other teams weaponizing this strategy. Like, it might not be Formula 1, but for F1 drivers might be good. But F3, F2, some other cars, they might abruptly brake or do something like that at a stage, and they'll be like, okay, this is what they reacted for this when Fernando Alonso did it, so just because someone else did it. I mean, I understand it could be Fernando Alonso was struggling with something with his throttle, but I mean, you never know, he's a cheeky guy. But yeah, I think it's unfair for Alonso, but it's fair for the health of the motorsport. I understand this might be controversial for old school Formula 1 fans. They might be like, oh no, that's quite a sissy move. But yeah, okay, anyways, let's not keep ranting about this. That is why I think this is not justified, because people can weaponize it. So the next thing I saw was Vettel might return to F1. I mean, I think it would be beneficial for Mercedes if they did sign him up. But I also think there are some strong contenders for the Mercedes seat, and it's also a bit too early in the season for us to speculate, okay, what are the options. But yeah, on a rough order, I did make I will draw up a very vague idea of what I think are the 4 possible options. I mean, the first thing is obviously Alonso, Sainz, and this guy Vettel, and Kimi Antonelli. So at the moment, these are the options Mercedes has, and it could be even someone like Max Verstappen if the Red Bull thing goes down the drain. But I also think Max feels more likely, if he is to leave Red Bull, that is also very unlikely. He would go to I mean, it's not that unlikely because of the Horner situation, but if Max is to leave, he would probably look at McLaren or Aston, because Honda is going to be the engine supplier from 2026, and to McLaren because Mercedes, if they do have a good engine, but they did not understand the regulations of this ground effects era, what hope do they have for the upcoming years? But on the other hand, we'll get to the next news. So Pierre Vache might be poached by Mercedes, because I mean, truly this is the moment when Red Bull is in shambles. this is the moment for people to come and pick up the big brains from Red Bull. So if Mercedes capitalizes on this, well, big up their side. So these were my predictions last week, and if you do remember, I said I will predict Max on top for the first time and see if it might change the outcome, and weirdly enough it did. I'm not superstitious, but okay, maybe I'm slightly superstitious, so I'm gonna try on something else. So this is how my predictions ended up. I predicted Charles pole, but it was Max. I predicted Lando P5, but it was Perez. I predicted Perez P4, it was Piastri. I predicted Charles P3, and it was Norris. And Oscar P2, it was Leclerc, and I predicted Max win, but it was Sainz. So, okay, this is pretty interesting. I mean, I feel like I do have some sort of superpower, but it could be the delusion in me. So, wait, what should I predict for this week? Let me cook up something. Okay, so pole position. I think I have a gut feeling that Max might dominate every single session, every single practice session. He's gonna be on top. And yeah, so pole, Max Verstappen. P5, Lando. P4, Carlos Sainz. P3, Charles Leclerc. So I think the Ferrari is gonna be pretty fast. I heard the Red Bull might bring 0 side pods, and if that is the case, and their car is actually a rocket ship, they might end up the second fastest team, and that's why P2 I'll put Checo, and P1 Max Verstappen. So let's see how great my powers are this year. Actually, it's not working the way I want it to, but let's see. So yeah, the reason I didn't put any of the Mercedes boys in the top 5 was their car is a tractor, especially when it's on rear limited circuits, and Lewis has been complaining about the rear wing and stuff like that. So I mean, he complains a lot about everything, but I don't know. This week, what do I feel? I feel Mercedes are not gonna do as bad because there's a chance of rain, and both the drivers are actually pretty good in the rain, and so Mercedes is gonna be okay in the rain, and Alpine might bring an upgrade. I think they did. I haven't checked the updates yet, but if they did, that's gonna be cool for them. And you'll see in the post edits, I'll put pictures of all the upgrades. And I heard Aston Martin not supposed to bring an upgrade, and also I think Haas are gonna do okay. They're gonna keep up their streak. Yuki and Daniel, I feel like Daniel might, or he should have a redemption drive at some point, because Daniel is not the best driver, but he's not as bad as people think he is. At least maybe he's washed. I don't know. I haven't seen his data and everything, so I cannot tell. Maybe he's a bit washed, but I feel like Daniel will bounce back, and Yuki will also perform really well. He will keep up his momentum and probably earn his place in the Red Bull seat. So yeah, that is all for today then. I will see you guys at the end, early next week when I rate the drivers, put them in a tier list based on their performance. So alright, see you guys, have a great evening and enjoy your race weekend. Bye.